Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm so glad you stopped by. I'm here every Thursday, at least most Thursdays, at 1 o'clock for just a little quick sales huddle. This is 3 Comma Agents. A lot of great agents across the nation are here. Kyle Whistle, Daniel Beard, Tina Call, Amy Wienans, and Marti Hampton. And I'm so glad to get to talk to you about my favorite subject, which is your sales career. And I just want you to know, I don't want to be here by myself. I would like for you to participate. I'd love for you to type in the chat who you are, what area that you sell in. I'd like to hear from you about how's your market. Just a reminder at the end that I'm going to have a question and answer at the end. So I'd love to hear from you then. But today's topic is the power of mentoring and how to find one and then how to become one. So it's a topic that I really believe in. I hope I can get across to you the things that I think are so important for you to understand about mentoring. So the first thing I wanted to say was, in truth, you need a mentor. I need a mentor, and your mentor needs a mentor. So we all need that in our life. We need someone who's going to inspire us to grow in our life. And so when you play golf, when you play tennis, if you play cards, I don't care if you go to the gym and work out, if you have somebody there that's pushing you, it is a better experience. You go to a higher level. And so that's the reason mentorship is so, so important. And if you don't have it, if you're not around people that are high performing in that particular arena, you're probably going to drop out. You're probably going to drop out of the gym when you don't feel like it. But if you've got somebody you're going to meet there and you're committed to that, they're depending on you, you're depending on them. Guess what? You show up. And later on that day, you feel better after you get over the soreness. So here's a thought for you. All I hear in real estate is I hear a lot of talk about retiring. Your life is not about retiring, actually. One of my mentors told me a long time ago that work is the glue that keeps you together. And I believe that. I believe that concept. And I believe that when you work at something you really, really like, it's not work. It's play, it's enjoyment, it's growth, it's so many things. But my mentor said that work is the thing that keeps you, that's the glue that keeps you together. So you'll hear about people, I've heard about people practicing law in their 90s and many other things that they worked on for many, many years after the traditional retirement time. And I've also heard of people that retired and were dead soon after. That sounds kind of bad, but the truth is you got to have some passion in your life. And if your work doesn't create passion, you have to find a way to put that passion in your life. So I think that's really important. I've been with 3 companies in 35 years of real estate. I was with a company that turned into another. It was actually Merrill Lynch when I first went there. And then it turned to Prudential, and then it turned to Prudential of the Carolinas, and then it went to about 3 or 4 other companies after that. I went to there, and then the only reason I left, because I have never subscribed to the idea that the grass is greener on the other side. Real estate was done about the same when I got in real estate, and I made 50%, and they took all kinds of things out of my listing side. And I was not, by the way, on the group of the agents that were favored for their relocation department. I don't know whether my car wasn't good enough. I don't know whether I wasn't good enough, but I didn't get those freebie leads. So all my leads were self-generated by my ambition and my drive to get out there and provide for my family. So I've been with 3 companies. The first one was Prudential. There were some great people there. I had some brokers that I really liked. I had 2 brokers there. And I learned a lot from Dick Roseberry. I learned a lot from the second broker. And the most valuable thing he ever said to me is, when you meet somebody, you make a decision in that first few minutes whether or not you're going to work with that person. And that is the most important thing that you do during that period of time. And I made a lot of wrong decisions. I worked with a lot of people that took me years to work with. So that's there. So I was at Prudential. And the only reason I left Prudential was that I was leaving somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 on the table. And as you know my story, I was a single parent, and that was a lot of money to leave on the table. And I cried like a teenager because I didn't want to leave the people that I worked with. But, it was just absolutely necessity that I provide for my family. So I went to that second company. The second company was Remax. And Remax had a day. And Remax had that day in the 90s. And I moved there along with a lot of other top producers. And I want to tell you what, at Remax, they used to have a saying about Remax, you have to pay to stay. And that was because there's so many easy places that you can hang your license, but at Remax, you had to pay. And so that means you had to be a producing agent. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I was around some of the top producers in this town. And they really inspired me. And they really taught me a lot of things. They polished up my game. And so my question to you is, who are you around that is polishing up your game? Who's making you better? Who? So that's important things. And then, of course, later on, I was ready to leave Remax, and I was headed straight towards being an independent because I thought a few people would call me by that time. And then along came this new company called EXP. And I started looking at it, and I looked at it a little while, and I looked at it this way, wasn't too inspired. But then I really looked at the people that I knew that I was part of coaching crowds across the United States, and there were some pretty heavy-duty people that were moving to EXP. And I knew they were not part-timers. They were not just easy-going. They were top professionals. And so I always want to be with the crowd that's making the biggest wave. And I believe that crowd, of course, is EXP. So I joined EXP, and right after COVID, or right before COVID, who can remember? But it was a great move for me, and I've been inspired ever since. And of course, that company went from about, at that time, I think it was about 40,000 people to double in size, about 90,000 people throughout the United States and the world. So that was my traveling. That was my career. So Dave, get me up on so I can see myself there, so I can talk better to these people. But just so you know, I really plan to be an independent, and I chose to go a different way because I wanted to be around people that I thought were as good as me and better than me, because it's never a good place to be where you're at the top because you got nothing to shoot at. So I like being in a place where I can shoot for the top. I was with a generation of producers at Remax. There was a huge generation there. And what I'm at EXP is the next generation of top producers. And they are doing a phenomenal job. So remember, work is the glue that keeps you together. So make your work your joy. And when it's not joyful, learn how to control and twist your emotions to make them work for you instead of against you. And that is a part of who you hang with. That's a part of your mentoring. That's a part of who you depend on. And I have to say it, it's hard for me because of this industry, the real estate industry. We're independent brokers. And frankly, we've been a mom and pop group for a really long time. And that may seem great. That may be great for a part-time income. That may be great for something else. But way too few real estate people feel that they are in a place where they're going to explode their real estate career. So my husband was in the software industry before he went out and created his own business and was quite successful with that. But when he talks about those early years of him coming up, one of the things that he talks about with a glow on his face and a smile on his face is the group that he worked with, that those guys were just so smart. They were just so smart. They were so with it. And so I wonder, do you feel that way? Do you feel like you're in that group that's really going strong? frankly, we don't like to change. It's like I was telling you about that first change that I made with Prudential. I didn't like to change. Man, I was comfortable. My name was associated with that company, and it was a very, very hard change for me. But that change was the best thing that ever happened to me. And the change that's getting ready to level all of real estate, or not level it, but go throughout all real estate, is the change that we're going to take in the middle of July, when we're going to have to get more information about how to sell, how to convey our value to buyers, because we're going to be in a position to have to negotiate the buy side commission, which is a different play. And we're going to lose agents, folks, and it's okay, because the ones that stay are going to be so much better in the long run. So I want you to understand. I love to take the words from one of my inspirational singers that I like to hear a lot. His name is Bruno Mars. He wrote a song that's called "You Better Keep Up." And one of his lines says, "You just better keep up." And that's what happens in real estate. You got to keep up. You got to keep up with the trends. Are buyers the same as they were 5-10 years ago? No. Are sellers the same? No, nothing is the same. So you got to find a way to be a great mentor, or find a great mentor. And I think that's really important, because it's no big secret who you hang around with. You know, the big saying, take the average of the 5 people that you hang around with, take their income, that's your income. So you got to hang with some really smart people. So what's stopping you from that? I'll tell you what's stopping most people is the comfort level of hanging where they're comfortable. And you never grow when you're comfortable. That's what this change in real estate is going to be about. We're not going to be comfortable with that change. But the ones that make it through that are going to be very, very valuable agents. And most agents value their independence more than they value their growth. Think about that. I have people, I call it the Miss America approach. I've used this a lot of times. But when I'm interviewing agents, and an agent will say to me, after I ask them the question, "Now, why do you want to get in real estate?" She'll say, "Well, I just love people and I love houses." I call that the Miss America approach. And I can gauge that person will get in real estate. They'll sell their 3 family members. They'll sell 2 of their friends, and then they will let their license just lie dormant. They won't do anything because it's such an easy entrance career. So there's very few people that really pay a payroll, but they like real estate because they can set their own schedule. Well, let me give you a shocking news. When you set your own schedule, you're not as tough on yourself as you would be if you had a payroll to reach. You're not as tough on yourself as you would be if people were depending on you. So I heard somebody said, how do you want to make it in real estate? Go out and buy a house, finance a car, get into debt, and then you'll make more money in real estate, because a lot of times we do what we have to do. So maybe there's some truth to that. I don't advise it, by the way. But before you can be a good leader in this business, you got to be a good follower. You got to actually show up and participate. And, that's what's wrong with teams right now, is they got a lot of people at the top, my team included, that are working really hard for opportunities for their agents, that are just scraping it, that are just hustling with it every single day. What can we do here to be better in this arena? What can we do there? How can we spend money that will give us a good return on investment? In other words, buyers and sellers that actually our agents can go capture. And you know what? Some of our agents take off for a sales meeting because they just maybe had a bad night or something. We don't take off for sales meeting. We actually show up. We actually have an agenda. So I want you to be where you can find a mentor that you respect, that you admire. And let me say a little caveat about that. There is no perfect mentor. There is no perfect husband or wife, in case you haven't found that out yet. And you're not perfect either, on top of all that. But by gosh, you can find somebody that inspires you, that you want to do some of the things that they've done. Maybe not all of them, but you want to do some of them. Like I've talked about having a coach if you go exercise. That is great. I never was in better shape in my life as when I had a partner and we went training and we had a coach. But the most important place, maybe I could question that, but where you spend most of the time? You spend most of the time at work. So to me, it's real darn important that you have a great mentor at your work, So I think that's the first place I would look. I think there's always a second place. The first place is always a spiritual place that you want to come from, but not talking about that, just talking about where you spend a lot of time. You spend a lot of time at work. So it'd be really good for you to have a great mentor at work that holds you accountable to your goals and your dreams. Here's a tip for you. I think there's a lot of benefit to be gained from sales mastery outside our little arena of real estate. I listened to a podcast called Sales Gravy because I'm actually very proud to be a sales professional. Sales professionals are the highest paid people in the United States. There's many reasons I'm proud to be a sales professional. But Sales Gravy comes from other arenas. So it teaches you things. And gone are the days when you can just say a script. And there's scripts that we all use in real estate, but the biggest and the best scripts are a true curiosity that you have about the person that's in front of you and about whether or not you can solve one of their problems. If it happens to be buying or selling a home, what you want to do many times is you want to cut through their story and not allow them to tell you their story. The real power of sales is in listening and then repeating back to them what they've just told you they want. That's the power of sales. So I'm so proud to be a sales professional with the highest earners in America. And it just hurts me to see our industry. There's too many people out there that are just not giving it what it deserves. They're just not taking it to the height that they could obtain. So that's going to change mid-July. I think we're going to see a lot of change in our industry. And I just want to tell you that beyond a shadow of a doubt, this business is all about understanding people and getting into the boat with them on a very emotional journey. And that journey is buying a home or selling a home. And when you can't get in step with that level, at their level, you're going to have a sales conversation instead of a human conversation. And I highly recommend you learn how to have a human conversation with your people. So I hope that helps you out a little bit. I told you I don't talk long, but I'm so glad you came by. I'd love to hear some questions from you. If you've got any, I'd love to talk to you about your career.
Got a couple questions here. Let me start with Tim. He wants to know about sales coaches specifically, if you have any recommendations, and if you're a team leader, should you hire one?
Absolutely. I think Sheplack is probably the best coach that I know of in this industry right now, John Sheplack. And he does a lot of things, sales mastery. He does a lot of things. He's coaching a lot of top teams across this nation, and he's hardcore. But I think he's really got the action that is needed. I think he's a great coach. I would highly recommend him.
And then Richard wants to know, Marty, did you have a mentor starting out, and do you have one now? Just wondering.
The mentors that I have are probably other team leaders that are at my same level or that are better than me. And definitely I like to spend time with them, like to learn from them. Yes, I had mentors when I began, but they were off and on. I didn't have anybody steady for over the years. I did have a spiritual mentor. He's the one that told me that work is the glue that keeps you together, and that you must learn to put some joy into your work. And that's just a fancy way of saying, your attitude of how you face every day just matters. It matters to your people, but it matters most of all to you and to the income that you'll take home. So yes, I've had quite a few mentors.
Okay, that does it for questions. Just have some nice comments here. Jonathan and Donna say, "You're an inspiration, Marty. Thank you." And then Rich says, good line to close this up. "Get into the business for the perceived opportunity of time, money, freedom. The market changes and they become like a bubblegum wrapper in a windstorm. Every person in business, including mentors, needs a mentor."
Absolutely. I think I started it out that way, but I appreciate that so much, Richard. That's good. Listen, I'm going to have a pop-up on your screen. If you have any questions about your career or about real estate or about mentoring, I think you need to be a mentor. I think the highest level of mentoring is to learn something new and then to turn around and teach it to somebody else, because frankly, you learn the most by teaching. So I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm going to have a pop-up screen that says schedule a time that we can talk. You have a great day. Talk to you soon.